Yeah, hello. Let us discuss about stakeholder management. We will start with the definition of a stakeholder. Who is a stakeholder? Anybody who is affected positively or negatively by doing a project or by not doing a project is a stakeholder of the project. So if you are if you are a project manager for constructing a flyover in a busy junction, maybe the local citizens may be affected negatively in the form of traffic jams and disturbances and dust and noise. So uh, they are stakeholders. The futuristic users of that flyover, they are also stakeholders. The government agencies are stakeholders. The vehicle owners are stakeholders. The pedestrians are stakeholders. And if it is running over a railway line, then the railway authorities are also stakeholders. Then these are examples. A customer could be a stakeholder, the team, other managers, government agencies, subcontractors, politicians, competitors, auditors, sponsor. So these are just examples. The list could be very exhaustive. Now, stakeholder management involves first thing is identification of the stakeholders. Then we cannot give the same priority for every stakeholder, so we have to segment them. We have to classify them. Then comes the classification of stakeholders. Then you have to develop strategies to deal with the stakeholders and implementation of these strategies. Collectively, all these things put together, we call it as stakeholder management. This is fine. Now, this is a very good tool for prioritizing the stakeholders. Now, let's say here, yeah, we are prioritizing it on two ankles. 1 minute. Now here, if you see, the y-axis is based on power and the x-axis is based on interest. Now we have a segment of the stakeholders which falls into this high power, high interest category. So these are very powerful people who have a lot of interest in the project. At the same time, they are very powerful. They can even short close a project. So these are the well-wishers and sometimes the protectors of the project. So they should be given high priority. Definitely the sponsor and all will fall into this category. Then comes a lot of people who have a lot of power and at the same time they don't have a lot of interest in your project. Typically the customer, CEO and all will fall into this category. You have to keep them satisfied. Then there could be a lot of people who have a lot of interest. At the same time, they are not very powerful. Could be the typical end users of the product or the project and all will fall into this category. Then comes the low power, low interest group. So they fall into this category. This high power, high interest group, definitely you should provide them with a weekly update. This high power, low interest group, you should provide them with a monthly update. And the low power high interest group, you should give them a monthly update or a quarterly update, and you should have strategies to include them into the beta test programs, because these are the opinion leaders. If 10 of them say that, okay, the product is bad, then that becomes bad. And this segment for the time being you can ignore. That is the low power, low interest groups. So that way, this is a very useful tool for classifying and prioritizing the stakeholders. This we discussed already. Now, while identifying this high power, high interest, high power, low interest, these groupings, understanding of the organizational structures is very important, because the organizational structures of your organization, your customers' organization, and your suppliers' organization I call it as a extended organization. It determines the power equations within the organization. In a functional organization, the project manager will have very less authority level, whereas the functional manager will have maximum authority level. In a projectized organization, the project manager will have maximum authority levels, whereas in a matrix organization, again, it can take three forms. So in a strong matrix, the project manager will have more authority than the functional manager. In a weak matrix, both the project manager will have lesser authority than the functional manager, and in a balanced matrix, both the project manager and the functional manager share the same kind of a power equations. So we should really understand the organizational structures of our customers, our own organization structure, and the suppliers and other key stakeholders. Organization structures we should analyze before classifying them into these categories. On top of it, different stakeholders may be motivated by different factors. So a Maslow's hierarchy of needs may throw some light into it. So we'll be discussing about Maslow's hierarchy of needs later. So identification of the stakeholders and then developing a practical strategy to deal with them will take you a long way to manage your project successfully. So thank you very much. So in this module, we discussed about the definition of a stakeholder. Then we discussed about a stakeholder register. Then we discussed about a stakeholder prioritization based on two factors, that is the power of the stakeholder and the interest level of the stakeholder in your project. Then we spoke about developing appropriate strategies to deal with them. Then we spoke about the basic organizational structures like the functional, the projectized, the matrix kind of organizational structures, because they also will have an impact on your on the power equations of the stakeholder. So an understanding of these structures are very important for classifying the stakeholders and then developing strategies to deal with them. I hope you got some value out of this presentation. This presentation is made for the learners at www.classtube.org. Thank you very much.